responsible for pretty much the rollout of GICs in the southern hemisphere, pretty much. But I also think that a lot of you in the innovation network here in southern Sweden, mostly, I guess, are interested in what's kind of happening in the center. So we thought it was going to be would be a good idea to kind of give you an update on where we are right now. And I also have, as you've seen, some of the startups that have joined the center with me today. So I'm thinking I'm doing a presentation first, kind of where we are, and then they can also very shortly present themselves. And if you have questions to them, that's of course great as well. So I think I should start sharing my presentation here, and let me do that. And I should also do, let's see, this, so you can see it fully. Now my computer thinks a lot, but hopefully you will be able to see something soon. Okay?
It's okay, we see it full screen. Thank you.
Great. So yeah, it's actually interesting that you started with talking about Sösdala in New York, and being part of the UN is actually the biggest shift, I think, is perspective, right? So if you work at the UN, and what we should be working is actually with the planet and the world and the wealth of all people on the globe. And I think that's something that makes you very humble, but also very important stuff. So, of course, we want to contribute to better lives. That's pretty much the UNOPS vision to work. And why did we start this initiative? Well, it's actually based on the goals of the Agenda 2030, the Sustainable Development Goals. The UN started and kind of made those goals, and we can see now pretty much halfway into the journey. It started 2015 and we're looking at 2030, and we can see that we still have too big of a gap, right, to where we are, from where we are to where we're heading. And one of the solutions to make that gap actually decrease and maybe make it reachable is of course innovation. And innovation is something that the UN has not been very good at, and they need help. But they can also see that, so that's one of the reasons why this started. But it's also a kind of acknowledgement that the innovation system in general has probably been a little bit too much focused, and the investments has been going a little bit too much into social media apps, and not maybe as much into really solving problems for the long term of this solution for this planet, kind of. So that's also one of the objectives with this, that we're going to try to, UN as a whole, but UNOP specifically, is going to try to shift the focus in the innovation world more to the sustainable goals. And so how do we actually plan to do that? Well, the plan was to create 15 global innovation centers around the world, and to advance the innovation and private sector investment for sustainable development. We have four centers today. We have Sweden, we have Antigua Barbuda, we have Japan, and we have Korea. But the aim is still to have 15 to 20 centers around the world. And now, of course, the focus is a lot on the less developed world to start centers there. We have kind of been thinking about what is actually our place in the system, and what can we actually help with. And we kind of decided that we could do two things. We have like two major tools that we're working with right now, and that's one is to create a incubator for companies working with the SDGs, but with a very UN SDG specific focus, and I'm going to go into that program. The other pillar for our program is building an innovation community, which is more, in a way, more national than global, and to get the private companies to really focus on innovation and SDGs. And why is that? Well, of course, because it's not only the governments or that can make the change needed for Agenda 2030 to succeed. It's of course the private sector has to come in, and I think there could be a lot of more cooperation as well within those 2 or 3 different areas of society to make this work. So I'm going to start with talking a little bit about the incubation program, and we actually have 5 great startups that we've chosen. We launched together with Sony, who was our first global partner. We launched a challenge at Slush, the big startup festival in Helsinki last year. And we got hundreds of applications, and the challenge was actually about resilient infrastructure. And that was based pretty much on problems they could see on Antigua Barbuda at the center, but also on our global partner Sony's kind of feeling that this could be interesting to look into. And of course, I mean, we started actually doing research on Antigua and Barbuda because that was the first center. And seeing how climate change is affecting them made it really, really clear that infrastructure could be an important challenge to work with. I was there, it was almost 2 years now ago, and when I asked them, like, okay, they say we have storms that breaks pretty much the whole infrastructure into pieces every time it comes. And I said, okay, but didn't you have storms before? And they said, yes, we had 1 big storm every 10th year, and now we have like 5 every year. And that makes the electricity go, well, the whole system breaks down, and then they use pretty much diesel generators with diesel from Venezuela to solve that issue. And yeah, it's not going to be good for them, and it's not going to be good for the planet either. So we introduced that challenge. We chose those 5 incubator companies, ranging from desalination to two companies that are with us today, say Veggie and Solar Seed. We'll go into those more later, I think. You can ask questions if you want. We have now created a program for these guys that started pretty much in the beginning of January. And it's 4 blocks. The first one is, of course, about the SDGs, that they have to look into themselves to see what are we really solving, and how do our theory of change look like? How do our cause and effect chain look when it comes to impact? And how can we measure that? The second block is about UN market insights, connecting the startups to the markets that UNOP have around the world, where you can actually see the problem firsthand, and you can really understand what you're trying to solve, which I think is, especially if you're looking, for example, in Africa or Asia, Southeast Asia, it's very easy to sit up here in Sweden and guess what could be used. But when you go down there, it's seldom what you thought you were doing that will help them, and you have to adopt to that. Third block is about impact investment, the big trend of actually money flowing into the system with not only making money but also doing good, and how to make those investors like what you're doing. And the fourth block is about piloting, and our aim is that all the startups should have some kind of prototype or some kind of pilot action in a regional market of UNOPS at the end of the year. And then we have a lot of tailor-made stuff below that. For example, Sony, I know Alison joined here. We're so grateful to have them as a partner, because they're also helping us a lot with technology and stuff. And general business coaching, we also have other, like innovation, for example, helping us out, because I don't think we should be doing what already exists in the Swedish ecosystem. So we're trying to do something else. All right, that was the incubator program. The community is is a way for us to kind of engage the big companies as well and bigger organizations. They could be medium sized as well, and to together create a force to make the world better, right? We actually did some workshops on together with companies what they actually wanted out of a community like this, because UNOPS don't have any before, and we didn't really know what companies were looking for. And you could see that it was actually pretty different stuff they were looking for. We saw that some were looking for innovation, closeness to the startups, and looking into what can you actually do, the SDGs, what kind of innovation does that require from us. Some companies wanted more like the marketing and sales perspective, like it's good to be able to join the UN and also teach their employees about what could be done, and also maybe get into the UN procurement system, which is UNOPS is running the UN procurement system of 20 billion USD every year. So I mean, and Sweden is I think per capita maybe the biggest investor in the UN, but we're like 97 or something when it comes to actually winning bids for the UN. So that's, yeah, we have big improvements to look forward there, hopefully. And then finally, the third most important part, the factor that we saw that companies were looking for, was actually the employee engagement, to get your employees to feel that they're doing good for the world in some kind of way. And that's actually been a really strong point, more than I actually expected. So we have tried to create a package for that, for all kinds of possible members. And right now at this point we have 4 members. I don't think I will say them yet, because we're gonna try to make a bigger launch later. We are looking for more, maybe not so many more, because this is our pilot year and we want to start out small and maybe have kind of a more informal network to really be able to share knowledge. But yeah, we can look into having some more members. The plan is actually this, that we are doing 3 events this year. We have had kind of an internal deadline of 31st of January to join, and then we're starting in February. The first event we're already planning right now is of course about the SDGs and companies sharing about what they're doing, but also I'm very happy and proud that I can say that John Eliasson, the former kind of vice president of the UN, Swedish vice president of the UN a couple of years back, he is joining us to do kind of an introduction speech on that one. And then we're going to have a lot of other interesting speakers on the SDGs for that event. And then we're also planning to have at least 2 more events during the year, and that's actually tailor-made by the companies. So if we just written, as you say, the future of, and the companies are actually going to decide the content there, and then we're going to try to fill it with things that are really interested when it comes to SDGs and innovation with that perspective. Maybe the future of plastics, maybe but it could also be like the future of the workplace, or it could be gender, which is actually one of the 2 themes that we should have in the center here in Lund. It's actually deep tech and gender. And yeah, I could do more presentations, but maybe I should stop there. Arne, what do you say?
Oh, that's fine if we don't have any questions right now before we listen to your startups.
Okay, any questions? I've been talking so much. I can do 2 more minutes and then present the startups, I guess. But if you have any questions, raise your voice, because I can't really see you.
Fredrik here, I had a question.
Great.
Yep.
You just mentioned that you had 2 themes or focus areas within these all the SDG areas. Can you elaborate a little bit around that? Which are the focus area for your center here in Sweden?
It's actually deep tech and That's maybe because it's also, I mean, it's Swedish and it's based in Lund, so we should be good at that. And then it's gender. So, and that could, of course, be many perspectives, but the women perspective is, of course, important. And I think I can, as being part of a global network, I can see that we have so much to contribute with that in the rest of the world. Not pointing fingers anywhere, but I just read, for example, that Japan pushed their gender goals for 2050 to the 22nd century. Is that how you say it?
Wow.
2100. Because no, we don't think we can reach them, so we push them 50 years ahead, which I think is such a shame.
But I think it's easier to solve the climate question than the gender equality.
Sorry, say that again.
Do I think in Japan that it's easier to solve the climate challenges than the gender equality?
Maybe.
It's good that you have a Global Innovation Centre for UNOPS in Kobe, Japan as well. Maybe
we do.
You can inspire them, Jonas.
Yeah, and we're already talking, for example, with Vinnova's specific people when it comes to gender and innovation, how we can work with that here, but also maybe on the other centers in different parts of the world.
Yeah.
Because the SDGs, sometimes you also only feel that it's about climate tech in a way, but of course there's 17 goals and there's different perspectives you can take on how to solve those goals.
Very good. Any more questions before we move into listening to your?
I have a reflection more than a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's about the incubator program. So I'm based in Lund, and I've been following with a lot of interest the developments of this center since the very beginning, but from the periphery. So I haven't really been directly involved. You say, okay, UNOPS launched this challenge that helped put focus on the ideas that were sent, and you said you had hundreds of ideas, but then these hundreds came down to 5 that were selected to be part of your program. And my reflection is that I find it a bit unfortunate that in the call itself or in the challenge launch, there was very little information on the selection criteria or actually how you would be choosing the top ideas. And from the outside, it has been a real black box. And even today, I'm struggling to understand really how you went from 100 to 5, because the idea itself is one thing, but you could have a great idea, but done in a really bad way. I mean, if you want to push gender equality and you want to push that good materials are used and circular economy and so on, that has to be built in the idea. But if none of this if there are no criteria actually listed in the launch, and then no one knows how this is selected, I think that was a big issue that I would hope you would fix in the future. I have been a bit disappointed that from the outside it has been too not open enough about this issue. That's what I would like to see in the future. I'm not criticizing too much of the past, but I would like to see more transparency about the selection criteria. And I think you could push innovation to go in the right way, because we have to work towards this change in mindset, not just the idea. It's the mindset of how we do things. So you need strict criteria and very strict criteria.
Thank you, Nicola. Jonas, what do you say?
Yeah, I can just say I agree.
Yep.
And I won't say more.
But looking from a little bit from the outside, from the side here, having UNOPS Global Innovation Centre as a neighboring both physically and mentally to us. It has been up and running for 1 year now, and I think that is fair to say that this is the startup year. It's a year of learnings, and this is probably one of the most important learnings you're pointing at, Jean-Nicolas. I'm sure there's a shitload of other learnings you've been doing during this year.
For sure.
Jonas and his colleagues have some work to do before it's established. It's just like any other startup activity. You have to learn, you have to do things, and by doing you will learn, also by the mistakes. So thanks for the reflection and input, Jean-Nicolas.
And as you're saying, I mean, we're pretty much the first center, and we're kind of teaching all the other centers as well. So we're trying to learn as we go, and we're also trying to teach the others as we go. And there's a lot of things we can definitely do better ahead. And I'm taking in your feedbacks for sure.
Super.
Great. Let's go ahead, Jonas.
Okay, so I could just do then it's kind of the two last slides is actually very much about like what are the partnerships looking like. And we have one global partnership that for example Sony has signed, and as you can see, we've kind of structured this into the three areas that Compass has been looking for, and it's innovation, and it's marketing, and it's employee engagement. And there is a global partnership, but there's also a local partnership level. And yeah, we can look into that later if you have questions about it. But I think I'll leave that now and go for startups.
Just to clarify, Jonas, these are the guys, the partners, the global and the local partners are the guys that will help you designing the future of whatever, the future of a chosen subject, right?
Yeah, I mean, we will have the focus of SDG and innovation, and then I can already say that the members we have so far is very different. So they will have different approaches, and then we'll try to tailor-make events based on their needs and their wishes. Like our challenge in this company is mostly this, and in this organization we have this focus, and we would like to have help on that. And then we can get all the partners and also external speakers and of course the UN expertise to kind of help all these companies move ahead. And once again, we're learning as we go. So I think some of this will be closed, but we can also say that some of this might be open for everybody. We'll see how that works out.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so maybe I should then jump into those that are most important, actually. I mean, the companies that are trying to help save the world here. And I know that we have some of the companies here. For example, we have David. I mean, you're up late in New York. Please tell us who you are and what you're doing.
Oh, yes, I am, but it's okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is David Gibbs. So I'm the CEO and founder of SolarSeed. We're developing essentially a new type of solar energy system based around what we call a adaptive circuit platform. What we're starting out with our first product is something we call a smart controller. And what this does is this allows the utilization of photovoltaic panels to generate electricity, usable electricity directly from sunlight, or the same controller can adapt to actually charge various types of storage devices, primarily batteries. So essentially it's a device that works and generates usable electricity with or without batteries. The intent behind this device and the basis of it was actually work that I did in Dominica after Hurricanes Maria and Irma. And kind of Jonas was talking about the impact of Irma, primarily on Barbuda and Antigua. And of course, Maria pretty much leveled all of Dominica, and then also Puerto Rico. And while I was doing work down there with deploying energy systems, we had a situation where we didn't have any batteries. Batteries could only be brought down via ship. We couldn't put them on a plane because of the weight, size, and also just restrictions. So we found that we had all these lovely solar panels and other equipment that were essentially useless. So I wanted to create a device that actually could easily deploy, easily set up, simplify the system for those situations. But then also there was an added bonus for people who had never used energy systems before. This actually created a lower rung, right? A lower point of entry for first-time energy users, and also a lower cost by eliminating the battery, which is the most expensive and most difficult and complex component of the system.
So David, I'm going to be like the tough moderator here. So there are other solutions like this. Why are your solution the best?
Well, actually, there isn't any solution like this.
Okay.
That's kind of the point. There is no other charge controllers that actually function in this manner that work with or without batteries. So right now we have our patent pending on our firmware and our hardware. And we have just completed testing at an independent testing laboratory up in Boston, Typhoon Hill. And we are scheduled to do testing out at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory in Colorado. We have until the end of this year to do that.
Great. Thank you very much. And thanks for staying up late and joining us. Vahid, we have a local star as well from Lund, who's in one of the companies, Save Veggie. Can you tell us about that, Vahid?
Hi, my name is Vahid. We have a startup called Save Veggie. As you know, 45% of fruits and vegetables goes to waste globally. It's such a big problem that the UN has named 2021 as International Year of Fruits and Vegetables. We provide a bio-based edible food-safe coating in the form of liquid that extend shelf life of fruits and vegetables. And it helps to basically reduce these waste.
Great. And you always have this fantastic picture that makes it feel like you're actually in, for example, Antigua and Barbuda, but you're in Lund, I guess.
Yeah, it's the plan to go there.
Great. All right. And I also think we actually have Rickard from Magab. Are you there somewhere?
I'm here. Hi, Jonas.
Hi, welcome. And Rickard is actually based in Helsingborg. We have kind of 2 Swedish, 2 Finnish, and 1 American company. So, Rickard, what are you guys doing?
We are doing what we call the air water maker. It's a machine that is able to condensate the humidity in the air into safe drinking water with a low power consumption.
That sounds like magic. Is it actually doable?
Yes, we have a prototype running for over a year now, and we have justified it a little bit just before Christmas, so we get out more water than before with the same amount of electricity. Can also be running on solar power, and we are just now looking into a smaller version that can use a few solar panels to be running 24 hours per day.
So what would be the main market, you think, for that?
Everyone that it's lack of good drinking water, and also if existing version is producing more than 5,000 liters per day, just with 60% humidity in the air. That's pretty low.
Thank you very much. Fantastic. Do you guys have any questions to these startups that we have big hopes for?
I have a question for Rickard. How do you handle air pollution when taking water from humidity?
We are both using a filter, but we are cleaning the water. We have a cleaning process involved in the machine.
Good question. Other questions? No?
No more questions.
Okay, so I guess Arne, you usually have questions, but I'll hand the moderating stick over to you, the mic.
Okay, very good. I think I have a question here. You talked about also UNOPS being the organization within the UN who are actually doing the sourcing and procurement for the whole of UN.
Yeah.
Them probably one of the largest buyers in the world.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make that market available for the startups in the program?
Yeah, that's
possible at all too, because I have a feeling that the UN procurement procedures are pretty hard and are designed for the large companies who can supply millions and millions of blankets or whatever it is, but maybe not rigged for a startup. What would you say here? Can you help them becoming a supplier to UNOPS?
Arne, that's a super good question also for us internally, and we are kind of the change makers in this process, I would say. because generally, it's a tough process. But I also really, companies here should actually start applying, because UNOPS is based in Copenhagen. It's close. You should. We actually had a Nordic seminar with loads of Swedish companies just Monday and Tuesday at the UNOPS for procurement, and I think we should be a lot better at that. So don't be afraid of that. But when it comes to the startups, it's hard for a startup to get into the system, because you have to have a lot of certifications and so forth. But we are actually trying to kind of bend rules and make pilots and testing not be part of procurement, to kind of that innovation within UNOPS will have kind of a little bit of a special way of trying out stuff. But then, of course, if they're going to go for the good big contracts, they have to go through the usual procurement process.
Maybe there is a need for. I know we have Joachim Nelson here from Innovation Skåne with us, and I know you have been working a lot with innovation procurement within Region Skåne, Joachim, and that's probably not also a big change for them. Is there anything we can learn from your work with the public sector in Sweden?
Yeah, I think, there's a number of different ways of doing innovation procurement. I think there hasn't been that many in Sweden, as I know. I think most of them actually done by us together with Region Skåne. So that's why we have been lecturing about that. But we can, of course, contact. I think the process of doing it, there are different ways. I think we can share, and if that could be interesting for UNOPS to look into. But basically, you talk very much by describing the problem, maybe as a more like images you set up. This is like we have fall prevention. Why do people fall at hospitals and get injuries, for instance? Yeah, they get up in the night and they are dizzy because they are on medicine, or the nurse is not coming quickly enough and they need to go to the toilet. And that you create a scenario, and then you invite, and I think when we did it, we invited, there was up to 70 companies who had different parts of the solution, and then it was glued together to a solution which was, I think, 3 companies who had different parts of the solution. And that type of method, I guess, could be used for you as well, because sometimes it's not just one company who can maybe do the whole solution, and then it could be good that you combine them, and that you can do in that type of process. It's still open, it's still competitive, it's still according to the procurement rules and so on. So if you would like, we would gladly share that with you if you like. We have been through that, I think, 3 or 4 times now, together with Region Skåne and the procurement division there. So of course, that's Swedish law we obey to, but of course, I guess it could be quite similar to UN laws to get down like a fair and reasonable terms, and all this, and everybody should be treated in the same way with transparency and so on. So yes, we can definitely connect if you like.
Yeah, let's talk about that. The UN procurement machine is in Copenhagen, and we are also trying to kind of understand and also try to be part of developing that. And they, of course, is also working with innovation procurement, because that's been kind of one of the big strategy goals for UNOPS the last years. But I am sure they can take advice as well. And as you're also saying, I think if going back to your question, Arne, for the startups, I think one of the solutions we'll probably look into is actually how to be a subcontractor to someone that has a UN contract, maybe.
Yeah, that might be an opportunity. But I think this is part of a bigger question, Jonas, which we've touched on when discussing the whole setup for the Global Innovation Centre. This is something very new within the UN organization, and they are a pretty bureaucratic organization, to be frank. It's also about culture, innovation culture, the culture of experimenting, culture of trying things out, allowing things to look at things and work with things that doesn't follow all the procedures and the regulations, and maybe in a nice way breaking the rules without destroying the organization or the good name of UN. So I think the whole setup with those global innovation centers will be extremely important to drive the culture or drive a different culture within UN. And I think that's super important. And I think you're the right guy, Jonas, to do that if anybody can.
Thank you.
Help them.
But you're on spot there. I mean, either we succeed or we get shut down, I would say.
Yeah, probably.
So now there has been a lot of males asking here, and talking about gender. We have some females in the meeting. Any questions from you?
Good point, Jakob.
Hi, Jakob. Thank you.
Alison.
Well, I would ask a question, but we actually work with Jonas and the UN and the GIC, so I actually haven't got any questions. But I can just say that, you know, from the Sony perspective, and from our Sony Startup Acceleration Program, I mean, for us, we really enjoy working with the GIC. We help to set it up. We've you know, advised and helped and as best we can because we really believe in this. So you know, we've been
to just joining there, Alison, when we've done, for example, hackathons with you together with Antigua Barbuda, and you guys came over there as well and met the governments and everything. But I was so amazed on the fact of the employee engagement, actually. That people from Sony, like 30 people over the weekend, stayed to work on this project, like full days. That's amazing.
And actually, one of the ideas that came up during that hackathon, whatever you want to call it, is actually now in our system, and you know, we're actually developing it. So yeah, I mean, we at Sony, we have 3 volunteer days a year. So we've actually used some of those with the work with the UN, with our employees. So yeah, I mean, it's been really, really interesting for us.
Thanks, Alison. Anyone else?
Maybe a reflection. I'm not a lady, but maybe it's okay. But when it comes to innovation and United Nations, I'm involved in this kind of ISO work, where develop a management standard for innovation. And there's one UN organization that is called UNIDO, United Nations Innovation Development. It's for developing countries. And they have joined forces there, and they have shown an interest in that space. So I'm not sure, are there some kind of relationship between UNOPS and UNIDO?
As I'm pretty new and the UN system is great, I don't actually know. But I can say that you're right, there is a lot of innovation initiatives around the UN organization in all kinds of departments and organizations. And I think that's good, because that means that we're actually on the ball. On the issue, but I think there's still a lot to be done.
Yeah, because I have some connections there. You could, if you want to connect with these guys at UNIDO, I think I can find those guys.
Thanks. Sounds interesting.
Good. This is actually why we're meeting these mornings. It's for networking. And I assume that you already have been linked in with everyone in this meeting. If not, please do.
And we actually launched our LinkedIn page yesterday in Swedish. So please join that one.
Wow.
It takes a while to get allowed to do stuff at the UN, but now we actually got to do a LinkedIn page in Swedish, and we actually have a global Facebook page as well. But I think Facebook closed us down a couple of days ago because they didn't believe we were for real. So we hope we will be back up again soon.
You are not associated with a former president or so?
I guess not. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Great.
I have a final question for you, Jonas.
Yep, thanks. Go ahead.
And thank you very much for sharing your plan and the companies. And I would love to know, when do we hear about the news and activities going further? where could we find this kind of information if we want to seek information about your job or work activities? And what do you need from the innovation system? And finally, if you're looking for a fourth or fifth or sixth partner, who is your dream partner? How could we help you getting that partner?
Well, can you take them one by one? Start with the first one. Good questions.
Three questions, Jakob.
So when do we hear from you next time? This was a fantastic open presentation of your plan and going forward. So when do we hear about the progress next time?
Hopefully we can kind of launch and be official about the community in February, March. That's the plan. And then we can say who all the members are, a little bit like that. Then we'll see how open that would be. But hopefully it will at least be partly open. And we are also planning, for example, to do stuff maybe with Hållbarhetsveckan at Lund University, and those events will be open. We are also actually planning a really big event, still on ID stage, but with Ali from Big Slap and Steve Angelo from Vårt Sverige, and that will probably also be very open. And yeah, we have loads of UN activities that will maybe not happen in Lund, but that we might be able to invite to, or at least to some part bring here as well. That was the first question.
Sorry, I didn't hear the answer, but my line is very bad, so I just go further.
Yeah.
So where, and you probably also answered where to find information about these activities?
No, I did not. So I can say that, yeah, information and communication is one of the, let's say, very delicate issues at the UN. So you can find information about us at UNOPS website, unops.org. It's not very much, and we don't have our own webpage because we're not allowed to have one.
And then, of course, that's also leading to how could we jump in with our knowledge, networks, forces to help you, support you. That makes it a little bit more hard if we cannot reach where you are right now.
But you can have my contact information, and you can find us through you guys, if not other places.
And finally,
I mean, we try to
engage
as many people we can in these processes, and especially for like help the incubator, but also hopefully forthcoming also to the community events. It is a little bit hard for us to work, for example, with consultants, because everybody has to go through the UN Global Marketplace if they should work with us. So once again, that's one of the tricky parts of being a very brand conscious and trying to be objective global partner for the world. And there's been corruption scandals over the years in the UN, and they are really, really careful with those issues. So if you want to work with us, you actually have probably to go through a procurement through the UN GM portal.
Wow.
And finally, who is your dream partner?
I think it would be great to have one of the Swedish big companies actually to be our partner, because now Sony, it's great that you're in Lund and we love working with you, but you're still Japanese and this is a Swedish center. So I think it would be good for one of the big Swedish companies to actually make a footprint and show that they're also interested in this stuff and ready to play a global role.
So that's an open invitation for the companies who really want to get associated and get into the community, innovation community with you.
And to be frank, I mean, in the long run, this center has to be self-financed. So if we don't get partners that wants to work with us, we'll not be here. So that's also
No, that's
good for you guys out there to know, I think.
a good incentive for you to find the partners. But I think there is a lot of wins to do with the partners associated with you and all those innovation activities. So I think it's a really win-win for the guys who are in there. So congratulations, Sony, to be the first global partner with the UNOPS Global Innovation Centre.
Yeah, and actually just being on the front stage or like main stage on Slush presenting a challenge, I think that's worth pretty much.
Only that is a big thing. Time is running, and we need to thank you, Jonas, and all the startups in your program also, and all the participants for joining us.
Just a quick question, Jonas and Arne, please check your chat as well.
Sorry.
Please check your chat messages in response to the question that was just raised.
I cannot see any chat question here.
You need to click on the chat icon.
I do, yeah. But I haven't see. Do you see anything, Jakob?
No, I can't see anything. Have you sent direct messages?
Yes.
I cannot see that right now. Was it from you, Michael? And then we can read it up.
Yes. Now I had two questions. One was if this presentation can be made available internally within our organization, and the second was what the contact information for Jonas.
The contact information, I heard the second one. The contact information for me, email is jonasm@unops.org. And as I'm so new that I haven't learned to kind of redesign the templates yet, so that's why my name is not in the last page here. But it's jonasm@unops.org.
So now you all know where to get in contact, how to get in contact with Jonas. Thanks again, Jonas. Very good. I'm really looking forward to see what will happen during this coming great year of 2021.
Just to finalize, sorry, can I say just one last thing? I mean, for you in the ecosystem, I mean, Vinnova has been part funding us to start with, and the aim for them is, of course, to get the Swedish innovation system to become international and work with SDGs. So look at us as a partner for that.
Great, thank you. Before we leave, just a reminder of some dates going forward here now. We will have the next breakfast meeting here like this, Digital Open Innovation Breakfast, February 17th. Then we will listen to Claes Bertilsson, who has been writing with colleagues a book about innovation in large corporates. And by many other things, he's using some of the tools we have developed within IDEON Open, which is an extra feature. But Claes is a very experienced innovation leader and very interesting to listen to. So please check in on the 17th of February as well. Before that, if any one of you want to become even better and better than I am on managing a Zoom interactive workshop or event, we are doing some of our best colleagues in this, most proficient guys, Anders and Gustav, will hold a training session on February the 9th in how to create and run engaging and interactive workshops with digital tools like Zoom and Miro and Mural and Google Slides and so on. So please check that out on our homepage. If you're interested, you can sign up there, or through Chamber of Commerce of Southern Sweden, who we do this together with. What more? We have one more thing coming up. Some of you guys here are members already in the community, co-learning community for Corporate Accelerator Program. That is for large corporates wanting to share learnings and learn from others how to run a corporate accelerator. We started that during last year, and we have had a few sessions so far. We will have the next session March the 19th. So if you're interested to join that, please get in contact with me directly, arne.hansson@ideonopen.com. and we'll see how we can get you in the community. It has been really great learnings so far, and I'm really looking forward to drive that community onwards. Final thing is we have no date, but one of the nice and interesting open innovation programs we are running at IDEON Open is something we call Game of Homes, which Jonas designed together with me 1 year ago for IDEON Open and for organizations who want to drive new solutions within homes and better living solutions in general in a big context. So we are running this program with a number of partners like Sony again, Kraftringen, we have Skanska, Assa Abloy, to mention a few. And we're running different themes, and the theme for last year was how we can visualize the whole energy system in southern Sweden, which we all know, or people in here in this region know that we have a big problem with power supply. How can we, by visualizing or gamification of the power supply network, make faster decisions, drive faster processes for establishing new homes and new industries and other things in the society? And we ran it together with Sony and Kraftringen last year. Now we're looking into the next theme, and we will come up with more information about the think tank during this spring, as soon as we have defined and scoped it correctly. So again, thank you for calling in this morning, everybody, especially to Jonas and team from UNOPS Global Innovation Centre. Thanks and have a great day. See you in 3 weeks.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, Jonas, and everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good. Jonas, you still there? Jakob?
Yes.
And we have Rika, we have a few guys more. Can Jakob, Jonas and Jakob stay on for 2 minutes?
Yep.
Så, snyggt. Stiligt Jakob,
Det är så.
Jonas. Mycket stiligt och stiligt Jakob. Tack för co-hosting och vad heter det?
Moderering. Jag har lite dålig lina emellanåt så att det svajar här, men så är det.
Ja, linan funkade bra här från detta hållet. Nu fortsätter jag spela in, det kan jag ju sluta med till exempel.
Du är på mute, Jonas.